Spider-Man Far From Home is out in theaters now. I've already published my traditional review, and now we're going to get into spoilers. So that's your warning. This is a spoiler-filled review if you didn't see it in the title already. And I have a cold again. I don't know why. My body really hates me. I had a cold like 2 months ago, and now my body wants me to have another one. So please excuse me if my voice sounds horrible, because I know it does. We're gonna get through this together. I like this movie just a tad bit more than Homecoming, even though there were specific things about Homecoming that I thought were better. The thing I liked the most about this movie is I felt it was paced much better than Homecoming. It always felt like something was happening. Peter was always invested in some sort of adventure. There was something always testing him. He couldn't really breathe. He never had room to breathe. He would have a moment alone with MJ and then immediately be called back into something involving some villain. What initially appears to be the Elementals is eventually revealed to be Mysterio, creating this whole amazing, elaborate scheme to make Spider-Man look awful and make him look like a hero. This is one of the big spoilers I didn't want to talk about, even though I think most fans of Spider-Man were hoping that Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, would be a villain. The trailers portrayed him as a good guy that teamed up with Spidey, and so I went in thinking, like, if they're gonna go that route, okay, I'll check it out, because, you know, some of my favorite characters of all time start out as villains but eventually become heroes. And so I was curious how they were going to do that. But I was really relieved when Quentin Beck reveals himself to be an asshole, because Jake Gyllenhaal just relished this role. He had such a good time playing it, I could tell. And I really liked what they did with Mysterio. I've always been a big fan of that character, and I was really hoping that they would do him justice on the big screen. Once he reveals himself to be like this repressed guy who never got credit from Tony Stark, and he's kind of upset about that, which was a little much. I'll talk about that in a second. Once we got those sequences where Peter was trapped in those illusions, having to fight his way out of them, I thought those were mesmerizing. Really incredible CGI work. And it felt like the Mysterio sequences I always wanted to see that I never really thought I would see in a movie. But let's talk about that exposition dump scene, because that's one of the things I didn't want to talk about in my original review. I was talking about a few problems with one character and something that Homecoming did better, and that is the villain. Michael Keaton as Vulture, I think, is a more compelling villainous character than Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and it's not because of the performances necessarily, but it's because of what the story does with those characters. Since Vulture was set up pretty well in the first Spider-Man Homecoming, but eventually towards the end of Homecoming, in a really great twist, he was given a very personal connection to Peter, which made that villain arc a lot more satisfying than Mysterio was in this movie, even though I liked him and Jake Gyllenhaal was good. I just think maybe the villain in Homecoming was stronger, and so I couldn't really talk about that because, yeah, I didn't want to just say that, yes, Mysterio is definitely a villain, even though most people suspected that. There's always going to be people who didn't know that. And so you try to, make the experience fun for everybody. But that exposition dump in that bar was just a bit much. You need it because, what the fuck is going on? But the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal was delivering it made it a lot more entertaining and funny, because I just kept picturing him in Nightcrawler, being Mysterio for some reason. I don't know. That's where the film got great. Those Mysterio sequences were really exciting, and the final battle was way more intense than the final one in Homecoming. There was just a lot more happening, a lot more going on, and the action was clearly more confidently helmed by John Watts this time around than in the last film. And I guess this really isn't a spoiler because the trailer showed this, which was the one thing in the trailer I was like, you didn't have to show that. MJ guesses that Peter is Spider-Man, and now she knows. So there's this great new dynamic between the two that unfortunately cannot be explored all that much because of what happens in the end credits scene. I wish that there was a little more time where we could have MJ keeping that secret from the public, because let's talk about the end credits scene. I mentioned a scene that made me just so excited, and obviously it was the mid-credits scene, because you find out Mysterio, his plan worked, and now the public knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and they think that he had something to do with the attack that happened in the end of the film. All of this information is delivered to us from none other than J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. I am telling you, I leapt forward in my seat, I looked over at my friend, we grabbed each other, and we shook ourselves and giggled like children. It was just so magical. I could not have been more excited, because if you were to tell me any specific character that isn't a main hero like Iron Man or something, how to recast that character, I couldn't tell you how to recast J.K. Simmons. I just couldn't. He was perfect. And the fact that they got him again just makes this guy so fucking happy. And I can't wait to see more of him in that role. I never ever thought that would happen. I never thought that would happen. That end credit scene just gave me so much joy, but I also love how they're going towards that classic Spider-Man that we know and love, where the city hates him and where everyone's against him. But I don't know how they're going to do it when Peter is known as being Spider-Man. They're really kind of just making everyone known in the MCU films. It does in a way make sense though, for one specific reason. It's getting harder and harder for these modern day superhero movies to pull off that nobody knows who these people are. We're in the drone era, the smartphone era, the satellite era, like where everyone's just recorded at all times. And the fact that nobody has ever zoomed in on Peter Parker while he's on a rooftop taking his mask off, it's beginning to strain credibility that any of these people can maintain their secret identities in today's modern technological world. So I have no idea where they're going to take Spider-Man, which is awesome. It's fresh, it feels unique. I like that they're getting closer to that Spider-Man I know and love, but there's something really different about it. There's a new take to it. Let's talk about the very last credit scene, which to me was funny, but maybe unnecessary. You find out that Nick Fury was just a Skrull throughout the whole movie, and Maria Hill as well. And then you cut to him like on some ship somewhere, just kind of controlling things and watching over things. It was funny, and you look back on the movie, especially a second time, and you start to see things and you notice things. But it wasn't necessary to me. Like, I didn't exactly know how to feel about that end credit scene. If it was just played off for a laugh, okay. But when it sort of reworks parts of the story, I don't know if it actually enhanced anything. So those are my thoughts on some of the more spoilery aspects of Far From Home that I couldn't get into in my original review. Guys, let me know what you thought of the movie. I hope you enjoyed it like I did. I have some more reviews coming up very soon. I just got to get rid of this cold. I'm excited to see Stranger Things Season 3. I'm looking forward to seeing that season. I'm hoping it's good. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.